What's going on, my good people? Feel good today. It's another day that the Lord that made. Let's rejoice and be happy in it. How about that? Let's start it off on a good note. So yeah, man. Oh yeah, pay yourself. Get out there and do something for you. The only thing that we really have control over is ourselves. You don't have control over your children. You are a steward over your children. You are a steward over your family, your wife and children. You steward over them. You ain't in control of them. Only thing that you are really and truly in control of is yourself. So pay yourself, man. You paid everybody else, done paid all them bills. You mad because they took all your money at the front of the month? Pay yourself. Because health is the true wealth. You can be super rich, man. I seen that when Steve Jobs passed on and he was at the end of his life, that's when you truly feel mortality. He said he wished he had more time. So if man had over $1 billion. And he said he wished he had more time. Time is something you can't get back. So yes, pay yourself. Treat yourself a little bit fair today. So yes, man. I want to speak about poverty today. Poverty. I see your poverty, but ye are rich. That's somewhere in Revelation. I believe it's chapter 2, verse 9. I'm not sure. Look it up for me. But there we go. But ye are rich. So I grew up, for most people that don't know, I grew up in Greens Point, Houston, Texas. And when people talk about the crack epidemic and what it did, in today's climate, it's downplayed because, we done went through it already. But, the people that had to endure it, the people that had to sit up in it, it's fresh. Because we still got some people that didn't make it. We got aunties, uncles, some people mamas and daddies, some people grandfathers and grandmothers that didn't make it. But most of it was poverty. Poverty does something to people. Poverty makes people act in a way that is not conducive of success, not conducive to look for their best interests or the interests of their children. I feel that the crack epidemic truly did something to the black community, and we were extremely shamed for it. And the thing is, to get true conviction out of a person, you have to shame. Like, hey man, that's not a good look. But they shamed us by sending us to jail for a very, very long time. And it did something to a subset of people. Ooh, I'm sweating now. It's hot in Houston. Well, if I tell you it's hot. But again, I grew up in Greens Point, Houston, Texas. That's the north side. Down 45 north. And man, look at here. When we moved to that community, people was playing tennis on the tennis courts. You don't be saying that in black communities like that. Like, people was playing tennis on the tennis courts, the pool, looked like a pool. People were civilized. And then crack came. And somebody described it. I forgot what movie I was watching, but he described it as one day you went outside and it was crackheads out there, and that's just how it was from there that point on. Man, look. And when I look at it like that, you go out there, at first there was maybe one or two, but man, we went out to the bus stop, man, after it got into the full swing, man. And that crack epidemic, it was like 4 or 5 crackheads out there every morning, man, just waiting on the dope man to wake up. And sometimes the dope man couldn't even sleep. But let's talk about the poverty that I endured living in that place. Poverty does something to somebody, man. It does something to children. It does something to adults. But most namely, the children. When we were in poverty, like my dad and my mom, they broke it off when I was about 7. We moved my grandmother for a little bit, and then we moved to Greenspoint. And this is like, when you in it, like I said, when you in it, you don't think it's that bad because it's your environment. Like, you living right next to the people that that they done killed somebody. You living next to the person that done beat on his wife. Like, poverty does something to people. Poverty turns people to animals, man. And people knew this. If people knew, if we just drain all the finances out of their community, I mean, we'll probably get 5% that rise through the ashes. But for the rest of them, straight poverty for the rest of your life. I know families that are like second, third generation welfare recipient families. Like, insane. But poverty breeds more poverty. Well, let's get that right. Poverty breeds more poverty when somebody doesn't break the curse. So if somebody is in poverty and nobody comes along to break that curse, they just say, okay, I'm gonna live in the same poverty. That poverty gonna go on to them kids. And then they gonna grow up. And if they don't break the curse, the poverty gonna go on to their kids. But that poverty, man, like it becomes a mindset. So I enlisted myself to be my family's poverty breaker. But man, look at here. At first, I worked really, 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 really hard. I said, I'm gonna work myself out of poverty. I'm gonna work myself out of poverty. And I went to the military. I said, I have to get away from this environment. I got to get out of Houston, man, because things that I was doing was not conducive to me getting the success that I was looking for. So I got in the military, got some discipline. Then I went to college, went to Texas Southern University, graduated, boom, first person in my family to graduate. I am a generation breaker. I'm the first person in my family to graduate. That meant something to me. After me, my sister graduated, my cousin graduated, my mom and my wife and my son are both in college. They graduated with their associates the other day, and now they finna get their bachelor's. My wife finna go on to be a psychologist. What you talking about? That's the first poverty breaker. But then I said, look here, man, I'm about money. I'm trying to get my money because I'm trying to get myself out of poverty. So I took a job overseas, man. I worked overseas for about 6.5 years. I worked in Iraq for the first 3 years, and then I worked in Afghanistan. And even though the pay was extremely well, what I didn't understand about poverty is it makes you act a certain way when you get it. So, you have a plan. You be like, man, I'm gonna make this money, I'm gonna stack this money, I'm gonna stack. But if you ain't never had nothing, man, you gonna blow it. And the thing is, if you get the money, but you don't have any education on how to invest, you don't have any, like I didn't have any knowledge on this stuff. And when I worked at my last job in Afghanistan, I worked with a lot of good people, man. They taught me about stock trading. They taught me about Forex. They taught me about real estate investing and things like that. And, but my poverty mindset, and this is what I had to notice. I was hoarding money because I was scared that I was gonna lose it. It's very crazy. Like, you rather just look at the money in your bank than invest it into something that could actually grow. That's what I'm talking about right there. And so I end up losing the money anyways, because your vice is gonna show up. If you have that money sitting there, your vice is gonna show up. Everything that you ask God for, the devil listening to. And so when I got money, the women that I didn't have access to before were now available. But I didn't know that I had value. I didn't know that ye is ye is rich. I didn't know that I was rich on the inside. So I acted poor on the outside. Like the thing about poverty, poverty comes with scarcity. It comes with fear. It comes with stubbornness. Like when you got some money and you poor-minded, man, you be so stubborn. You swear you know everything. But all you know is your poverty. That's all you know. And so I started making really, really bad decisions. And hell, I was close to 40 before I was just like, okay, we're gonna have to do something about this. And now I'm at 43, and I'm saying I really gotta get control of it, because this poverty mindset will keep you in a place. You're gonna always spend the wrong way. You're gonna be material minded versus investment minded. And it's and you're dealing with black people, African American people. I ain't never been no Jewish man. I ain't never been no Asian man. I ain't never been a white man. I've always been an African American, but we are the children of the world. They stripped us of all of our culture, so we really don't have anything to reference as far as our ancestors and our people that we were stripped from, our identity that we were stripped from. So we don't really have anything to look back to get reference from. Okay, we was rich. Well, name them people that you was rich from. Name your tribe. You can't name it. You don't have that culture. So that breeds a poverty mentality. This is what these people knew. They knew it. So we have to break this curse, man. We got to break it for our children, man. And just with that one thing I told you about being the first person to graduate in my family, and then my people behind me saying, well, hell, I want to graduate too. I want to be just like Uncle Apache. You know, I want to graduate too. And so we got to get ahead of this thing, especially this poverty situation, especially with our people. Let's be the generation that breaks this poverty for the rest of our people. Let's do that. Let's set the example up for the kids of the next generation. It's extremely important, man. When they watch you do it, it's going to be so much easier for them to do it. But if you don't move your feet, if you don't break up out of that poverty mindset, they're going to follow you into that poverty. They're going to follow you right there. So holla at you people, man. I'm about to get on the rest of my walk, man. We got a lot to do today, you know. So, yeah, man, marinate on that a little bit, man. God has seen your poverty. Seen your poverty. Like, yeah, I see it. I see what they did to you. But ye are rich. You got everything that you need, man. Everything that you need is already there. And when you activate that power, man, and you show the next generation that it's possible, they're going to fly. You're going to walk through them doors. They're going to run through them doors. And their kids going to fly through them doors. That's how it works, man. But you got to open up the door. You got to open up the access to them. And then you got to train them about the access.